world, it's Austin. Let's talk about being transgender and Christian. Today I want to share something with you that I don't understand. I mean, even though I graduated from seminary and I do a lot of reading and I do a lot of research for these videos, that doesn't mean that I know everything. Even my seminary professors, who I sometimes thought knew everything, don't know everything. There are passages in the Bible that really trip me up, and some that are downright mystifying, and I think that's kind of how it's supposed to be. I think the best thing that we can do in a lot of situations is just say, I don't know, but I'd really like to learn more. So today I want to talk about Luke chapter 12, verses 22 through 31, because I don't really think that I get what Jesus is saying here. So here's how this passage goes. Jesus said to his disciples, "Therefore I tell you, do not worry about your life, what you will eat, or about your body, what you will wear, for life is more than food, and the body more than clothing. Consider the ravens, they neither sow nor reap, they have neither storehouse nor barn, and yet God feeds them. Of how much more value are you than the birds? And can any of you, by worrying, add a single hour to the span of your life? If then you are not able to do so small a thing as that, why worry about the rest? Consider the lilies, how they grow. They neither toil nor spin. Yet I tell you, even Solomon in all his glory was not clothed like one of these. But if God so clothes the grasses of the field, which are alive one day and tomorrow thrown into the oven, how much more will he clothe you, you of little faith? And do not keep striving for what you are to eat and what you are to drink, and do not keep worrying. For it is the nations of the world that strive after these things, and your Father knows that you need them. Instead, strive for his kingdom, and these things will be given to you as well." So Jesus is making a couple of different points here, and there are a few that I can kind of tease out. First of all, because the passages right before and after this one are talking about not being greedy, we can assume that Jesus is saying that we need to stop focusing so much on material possessions. Right on, I'm totally down with that. If we focus on gathering more and more of something while others have not enough, that's pretty contrary to one of the basic principles of Christianity, which is that you're supposed to love your neighbor as yourself. Love, in this case, as in most cases, is a verb here, and love is something that we are doing. If we continue to hoard wealth while other people don't have enough, we're not loving our neighbors. Second, Jesus seems to be talking about the insanity of anxiety. He says, can you add even an hour to your life by worrying? Which points to the very real fact that incessant anxiety and worry about things doesn't actually solve any of our problems. As the Dalai Lama says, if you can't do anything about it, don't worry about it. And if you can do something about it, don't worry about it. But of course, not worrying is a lot easier said than done. As someone with clinical anxiety, whose mind tends to get trapped in a hamster wheel of anxious thoughts, I find this passage really helps ground me and bring me back down to what matters. Jesus talks about God's care for creation, how God cares even for the plants and the animals of the world. And guess what? If God cares that much about grass, then God cares a lot about you too. But here's the part that I don't get. Jesus says that we shouldn't worry about what we're going to eat or drink or wear because God knows that we need those things, and so God will provide them. But what about all the people in the world who don't have those things? The people that don't have enough food or access to clean water or warm socks and coats in the winter or even a house to live in? What about the incredibly high number of LGBT youth who are forced out of their homes by families that don't get it either? Did God somehow forget about these people, or are they not working hard enough for the kingdom so they don't deserve these things like food and clothes? Well, I'm pretty sure it's not the first one. I'm pretty sure God doesn't forget about people. Throughout the Hebrew Scriptures in the Old Testament, God was constantly sending prophets to remind the people to take care of the widows and the orphans and the people without resources. It's not really in God's nature to forget people. So is it that the homeless and hungry aren't doing enough for God? That doesn't seem right either. Jesus fed 5,000 people a couple of different times in the Gospels, and it wasn't like they did anything special to deserve it. Or here's another possibility. The beginning of this passage starts with, "And Jesus said to his disciples," which might mean that this passage was only meant for those 12 guys. Maybe this isn't something that we're supposed to be reading ourselves into. I don't know, guys. I don't know why Jesus seems to be saying something when we experience the world to be something else, but I guess he kind of does that a lot. The only thing I can think is that maybe when Jesus says, strive for God's kingdom and these things will be given to you as well, he means that God's kingdom is something that we're supposed to be working toward, in that it is creating a community of people that take care of each other. And so if we work towards creating that kingdom then maybe things like food and shelter kind of come afterwards as a result of it. In the Gospel of Luke specifically, Jesus is constantly talking about God's kingdom as an overflowing banquet where there's more than enough for everybody. But maybe that kingdom can only come about if those of us with more than enough fork over some for those who are hungry. So today I'm thinking especially about the 20 to 40% of homeless youth that identify as LGBTQ, because those kids are us. There's not a day that goes by on social media where I don't see a fundraiser for somebody who's been kicked out of their home and out of their family because of their gender identity or their sexuality. Homeless LGBTQ youth are at risk for sexual violence. They are more likely to drop out of school, to become addicted to drugs, and to commit suicide. I have to believe that this passage about God providing enough has to apply to them too. That God hasn't forgotten about them and that their needs can be met if we all work towards this kingdom. So, if God's not going to forget about these kids, then we can't forget about them either. Please check out the info in the links below about LGBTQ youth homelessness, and if you feel so inclined, check out a couple of the places where you can donate to help them. Or if you're short on cash and on a budget like I am, next time you go grocery shopping, grab a couple of canned foods and put them in the food shelf bin. Or maybe donate some of your time doing LGBT advocacy and education work, because the more people understand about LGBTQ issues, the fewer LGBTQ kids we're going to end up on the street. Share your resources, share your time, share your love, and share your compassion. That's how we can work for God's kingdom even when we don't have all the answers. Thanks for watching, everybody. If you have other ideas about what you think Jesus might be saying in this passage, let me know. I'd love to hear about it. You can write it in the comments below, or you can get me on Twitter or on the Facebook group, and those links are down below as well. Hit subscribe if you want to see more videos like this, and I will see you back here next Wednesday. Peace.